Zone, zone. You too young for that song or what? To remember
What? Come on, bro.
That's your era, huh? Matter of fact, about
Yeah,
5 years old.
man, yeah, nigga.
That era for you was like that. Hot in here, or that you make me wanna leave. I was about 5 or 6 when that shit was up.
Mm, yeah,
So you grew up on trap music, basically.
yeah. That's why I'm in a trap now, nigga.
You trapped in that pussy, trapped under that pussy, nigga. Them cobwebs, nigga.
Trapped under that damn demon.
Sorry, bro. We gonna get that motherfucker off you, man. Just a little. Just need a little scriptures. I got a prescription for it. I got a script for you, phone nigga. This script. Yeah, man, you trying to get that pint of Matthew? Yeah, I got that. Go on ahead through the back though, bro. Don't let nobody see you, bro. Go on ahead. Let me invite you to this meeting, nigga. I was thinking when I saw that body. I'm saying, man, we gotta take this. We're gonna take this shit serious too now, cause like I said, we preparing to do big things, man. So we in work. We in season mode, man. We in the season, man. The season has started, or it's starting soon. We're approaching the season. We in season mode territory. So did I send you that link?
So,
Oh, I thought I sent you the link. F and F. I guess Shorty fucking niggas for free. She gonna let that nigga. She gonna fuck niggas free. Yo. Oh, let me invite you. Yo.
yeah.
Let's see. Sure. Nigga said, okay, check it out. I know what girls want. I know what they like. They, you can see my screen and everything. Can you hear me? Hold on, I know what to do. You always gotta do this. Just be in stereo. And turn on original sound. Yup, you should be able to hear a nigga now. Like completely hear me. What you think? Can you?
I can hear you through the FaceTime.
Oh yeah, you can hear me. I was about to say you can hear me through this anyways. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's get it then, man. Fuck. Let me turn this TV up. Let me talk to you, tell you how it is. Fuck. That's why we gotta have brothers. That's why we have to have a clean space. I'm sure you brothers have heard of the saying, cluttered space, cluttered mind. That's because your space is a direct reflection of you. I'm gonna probably record some. Remember that audio book, that audio Bible we're gonna do? Or I'm gonna do. Yo, you seen that nigga Jam Mom? Miss Katira?
Have I seen her?
Bro, yes.
What you mean by that?
Bro, so I guess she got the surgery, right? Weight loss surgery. And she been acting like she got skinny by working out and shit. And bro, she basically been on Facebook, bros, on some nigga freaky shit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
My mom showed me that shit today. Bro, I couldn't even look. Let's just leave it at that.
No way.
Bro, straight bubble butt popping out everything. Oh my God, Lord, forgive me, Jam, forgive me, please, man. No, that's your mama, but God damn.
No.
God, no, I'm just playing.
No.
I'm just playing, man. Got the body. Oh shit, blood. Man, we in the lab, man, officially. So we ain't in the lab till I put my cover on over my back. So let's see what we get into. History, a good place to start always, right? With a nigga like me is my damn. I feel like I'm in a whole nother zone, nigga. Fuck. Start with my reading list. So on the Sabbath, I'll stick to topics that are going to deal directly with scriptures, either in biblical way, like reading actual scriptures, or a historical way, or anecdotal, either way. So let's see. Something. Oh, I wanted to deal with this. Something I was going to deal with, just regardless of. I was telling my mom about, tying in the scriptures and spiritual aspect of my business, and being able to prove that, let's say, oh, actually, let's do this too. Let's bring these notes in. Where's my notepad at? Give me a new sticky note, man. Sticky, icky. They don't have a about to say they don't have like a damn type of thing where you can type notes and leave them on the screen, like if you in here. Fuck. Let's see, whiteboard, huh? Damn. Fuck. What the fuck was I finna bring up? Oh. Yeah, so we'll do fuck. Meeting notes, right? Fuck. Can you see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
With my Zoom screen?
Zoom screen. No.
You can't see like. Oh, okay. Well, fuck it then. We'll just use this notepad then, right? So. So. So, here's the thing, right? I told her, historically, right? Is what we can do, right? As far as the knowledge, right? Coming from the perspective of us, so-called American blacks, biggest consumers in the world, probably the only people without their own continental content. Damn, I don't even. Oh. There we go. Territory. Right. Most notable victims of racism. Which is technically alleged to be illegal in their own legal system, right? The most market to considering per capita earnings versus consumption, the most exploited. Right, so you got all these things, right? And it's all gonna come down to what? Education, right? Starts with what? History. What's the first thing you're supposed to learn in a culture? History, right? We are given our history. We are generally withheld from our records. Right? So technically, right, there's no true way to prove that what we theorize or our beliefs, right? What's going on with this shit? Theorize so-called slash our chip of Israel. Let's just say this, are the people of the book. How do we come to that theory? Archaeology. What the? Oh, I'm gonna spell it. Archaeology. And written records. DNA. Right. Descriptions. This is just all empirical data. Right. You following me?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, in the form of proof, who would have the records? Historical institutions, right? Smithsonian. Here's a counterpoint to all the skeptics. Oh, how do you know this? There's no way, you can't say this. Well, guess what? One thing we know is so-called blacks. Let's put this. And Jim Crow, due to Jim Crow and other institutions of slavery, we were withheld from positions of authority. So one can argue that the history of these institutions prevented blacks from overseeing these records. And so we got paintings and all that stuff, right? So all of this to say, right? All of this to say what? We can't prove without a shadow of doubt, right? We can't prove something we don't have access to, right? But what we can prove is that what we're taught, the historical narrative, still in place, contradicts years and thousands of pieces of historical data, written records, and archaeology. And that starts with the out of Africa theory. But there are works in the 1800s from American authors hypothesizing the origin of American blacks. We have dictionaries, paintings, written accounts that conflict the narrative that is authorized in the public school systems and even private school systems. These institutions have been products of organizations that have contributed to the oppression, let's say systematic oppression of American blacks. So, what does this have to do with anything, right? So if you don't know where you come from, you don't know who you are, you can't trust the system to educate you on your history, that's the first step that offsets the first step in carrying out a culture, right? For lack of better terms, because culture is based on what? Self-identity, purpose, and that's connected with what? Historically,
which is deal with what? Your DNA, your role on the earth, your abilities, your sociological like your social, like the way of living, basically your way of living. Your social, the customs, that'll be your customs, right? Then things that suit your kind. And what do we mean by kind? People with your DNA, meaning what? People who have similar biochemistry, meaning what? Similar predispositions. Similar needs, preferences, and suitings, right? If we got the same type of skin, we need the same type of moisturizer. You know what I mean? We got the same kind of bone structure, we need the same type of diet, right? Your diet, same type of living habits, right? Same type of dress. And if we have similar DNA, most likely we have similar abilities. We have similar abilities that leads into similar skills, similar learning processes, right? So these are all things that are natural, that we can all agree, at least the institution of slavery of the American black has contributed to degeneratively. So let's say that. So this is all we hear about, right? History, right, of American blacks goes to slavery. Virginia, Jamestown, right? So then another part of the self-sustainability, right, is religion, right? People say a control mechanism, but it's really your belief in the meaning, creation of the universe, aka life, i.e. our environment, right? So modernly, right, consistent, why? Because we have to set a pretext for why we attack certain things. It's just based off of what exists. Modernly, in the black community, we got what? Where you got spirituality, right? As far as a custom belongs to what? The Christian church system, right? This what does what? What role does it play? Gives people the identity, their customs, ethics, morals, and influences behavior, which all leads to what? Lifestyle. And that's where people get their identity. So, people are getting taught that so there's a divide. You got people who believe let's just say this, your religion has to do with your perspective. It's responsible for your perspective, what you believe you're here for, your purpose, your role. So the thing is, the narrative, which is true to some degree, mixed with a little false, is that in America, in American history, the Christian church was a big I don't want to say character. Yeah, let's just say character. Well, character for a lack of a better term, but a good, big main character in the slavery narrative. So you have a Messiah figure, Abrahamic religions. Then you got the NOI, which is a counterpart to Christianity. So these are the major religions of the American black. And the theories, well, really, let's just say the narrative is that slavery connects M to Christianity, right? So where does Christianity come from? And what is its basis? And what is its role on the M community? Right? And this is important, right? Because where are we at today, right? What is the hottest topics? Race relations, right? Right? Well, how can we get into race relations without getting past the narrative? Right? What is the narrative? Whites stole blacks, made them work, made them build America. Through colonization. Right? And what is the narrative that we get? That it was all about religion. Right? You have the Puritans. Then, not to mention, you have the Aboriginals. Right? That's what we learned in school. Right? at our tender ages of what? 6 to 8. Then it just continues upward. The narrative. Then we get taught these figures and their roles. And then we have progressivism, which is the major political movement, right? Then we also have the element of United Kingdom history, right? You get where I'm going? So, these being the major issues, right? Then we have feminism, religion, so we'll just say gender rights, sexual orientation rights, right? It's just a fight for freedoms and rights based on what? Ethics and morals based on what? Spiritual beliefs. But here's the thing. All of these beliefs have an origin. An antiquated origin. So, right, with that being said, everything comes from something. Now that we have the internet, people can share books, PDFs, just overall knowledge, you know what I'm saying? I won't say easily, but we'll say much easier to research and share. And thus we are here. So, where are we at in the world? Inclusion, right? Corpratocracy. Let me see, corpratocracy. I don't know.
Corporate. Corporate. Oh shit.
And then that's what we'll do too. We'll deal with the actual, accepted definitions of things. And that's what we're going to get into, right? Accepted definitions of things. Oh, so okay, they're just not recognizing that as a term. So what is its importance? Global superpower. Then we got the United Nations, right? And we got wars, right? Has to do with what? Everyday society. politics, foreign relations, global affairs, right? That's the term I'm looking for. So global affairs, right? And we have a global economy, right? We have global alliances. You following me? All right. So we had alliances. So what does this have to do with anything? This is the state of global affairs. So we all have to know our role. And right, and what's regular. Right? What motivates human beings? Self-interest, sense of belonging, yada yada, right? Purpose. What is our purpose, right? What are we to do? What actions should we take next? What's right? What's wrong? What should we do? Right? Based on state of global affairs, right? So that we can have happiness, right? American dream, right? So, and that's where the basis of equal rights. So let's look up United Nations, or yeah. Peace, dignity, and equality. You see that? On a healthy planet. So that is the goal of the United Nations. So let's see, about us. Hold on, whoa. Let's go back. Designing cities that work for women. In theory, cities offer egalitarian opportunities. They're open to anyone who wants to take their best shot. So let's get an actual. We know from the context what it could be, but let's look it up. So did we get our word egalitarian? Relating to believing in the principle that all people are equal and deserve equal rights and opportunities. So low power distance. The ideal distance between a boss and a subordinate is low. But I thought so they're saying the best boss is a facilitator among equals. So what is a boss then, right? Oh, sorry. So we know what a egalitarian is, right? What's a boss? Because they said boss, right? A person who is in charge. So let's see, what does in charge mean? In control with overall responsibility. So me and you would be equal, but I'm just in charge. Or I'm responsible. I'm more responsible. But I guess they're saying you could also be, let's not be facetious, right? Let's try to understand what they're saying. Because we don't have to chop what they're saying up. Let's just see it. Let's be objective, right? So, overall responsibility, right? So, they're saying that overall, right, me and you could be equal. I'm just in charge of overall responsibility, meaning that you could also be in charge of overall of responsibility if all of us equal parties decided so. So how does anyone gain any position? But whatever, right? We're not even gonna. This is nonsense because we know the nature of the world. So we gotta have precedence, right? And what we know about humans. Where does this all go into scriptures? This is all about anthropology, right? Which leads us into psychology, which leads us into prediction of like the human race, right? They almost try. See, they asked me that I want to clear my reading list. Get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? So, that's a whole thing, right? So, let's go there. Let's just jump into some anthropology. Let me teach you some shit, right? Because I'm using these words, right? Well, let me show you. It's a field of study. Scientific study of humanity concerned with human behavior, human biology, culture, society, and linguistics, both in the present and past, including past human species. That's what I said, right? So that's where you get what? Social anthropology, cultural anthropology, right? Where these people just, they study patterns of behaviors, studying cultural meaning, including norms and values. Why do we need norms and values, right? Because we're trying to get everybody on the same page, right? That's part of, what's our word? Egalitarian, right? Everybody got to be on the same exact page, right? So let's look at their sustainable goals, right? 17 goals to transform the world, right? 17 goals. So wait. Before we get into this, right? Why are we dealing with the United Nations? Well, because we're in the United States, right? So we're just dealing with the American blacks, my people. So what can I do for my people, right? What can I do for my life, right? Why does it have to be my life? Because I'm a product of the so-called black community, right? So my whole life is based on my experience growing up. Allegedly, not really, you know what I'm saying? Not really in their narrative, but really in real life, right? You know, but in according to the theories, right? In reality, my whole life is based on what my ancestors went through and such, so forth. The history of the country and the world has led me to my life and my decisions today, my current condition and status, right? And so for me to have any internal motivations or directions, right? And let's just get into psychology because we want to deal with who am I today? What am I to do? What is my life, right? Because that's what matters, right? The hierarchy of needs. You've heard about this, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Psychological needs. Air, food, water, shelter, sleep, clothing, reproduction. Personal security, employment, resources, health, property. Love, intimacy, family, sense of connection, respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, freedom, desire to become the most that one can be. So, you with me? Or you timed out already? Even if you timed out. We're just going to continue. Look, so you got safety needs, personal security, employment, resources, health, property, right? So one thing we do know is that, let's just look at what this is. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory in psychology comprising a 5-tier model of human needs, often depicted as hierarchical levels within a pyramid. So let's just see let's look at a different source and see how accepted and installed and institutionalized this needs is. It's an idea in psychology proposed by so let's just get into psychology, right? Okay, his theories. So then you see the pyramid transcendence after self-actualization. Other criticisms include the placement of location of sex in the hierarchy, right? Although widely used in research, it lacks conclusive supporting evidence, and the validity of the theory remains contested in academia. One criticism of the original theory has been revised into newer versions of the theory was that the original hierarchy states that a low level must be completely satisfied and fulfilled before moving on to a higher pursuit. There is evidence suggests that levels continuously overlap each other. I agree. Other criticisms include the placement location of sex, of course it does. The assumption of individualism in the theory, and the lack of accounting for regional variances in cultural availability of resources. I agree with that as well. So let's just see. So basically, these people are changing the standards. So major schools of thought. We got biological things, comparative psychology, behaviorist. These were some sick people, man, doing experiments on babies and shit, man, as you can see. Here you go. This is where this stuff comes at. Here you go. They got his hierarchy of needs, so that's there. Let's see. See, we're supposed to describe behavior, explain behavior, predict behavior, change or control behavior, right? So, William James, all these people, psychologists, experimental, Hermann Ebbinghaus, even Pavlov, Sigmund Freud, John B. Watson, the curve diverse have grown out of the work. So you got cognitive psychology, performance and sport, neuropsychology, clinical psychology, counseling, cyber psychology, industrial IO psychology, educational psychology, developmental psychology, right? So let's just go back to the United Nations, right? It's an intergovernmental organization whose stated purpose are to maintain international peace and security. Headquartered in New York. Has other main offices in Geneva, Nairobi, Vienna, The Hague. Where the fuck is that? Home to the International Court of Justice. It was established after World War II. After, in San Francisco in 1945. This real history is doing real reading and research, right? Not to copy my boy, but permanent mentions. Open that in a new tab. So it has system. The General Assembly. So yeah, I see the UN. The UN system includes a multiple specialized agency, funds, and programs. The World Bank Group is a family of 5 international organizations that make leverage loans to developing countries. So these are the reason I'm bringing these people up is because they're some of the biggest contributors to the world development, quote unquote. Really, what we call colonization, right? LOL. Which would have been called that, right? So you got these people running around doing, it is basically playing superhero to the world, basically owning the world, doing as they want to do. It is the largest and best known development bank in the world and an observer at the United Nations Development Group. The bank is, I don't care. Then you got the World Health Organization, right? We know about this. The World Food Program. We're going to get into that. It's the largest provider of school meals. We got UNESCO, the Educated Scientific and Cultural. So world peace and security through education and arts. It has 193 member states. So that'll be good with what we're doing. So who's part of this? No, I want to know who is part of this. Who are the members? So we're going to come back to this because you got a guy claiming that the UNESCO is the body that continually rewrites history, including erasing the Jewish connection to Jerusalem. It's corrupted. We'll get into modern day. This is how you do your research. So it's like when Chronicles do shit like this, it would serve him real well, whenever you get to that, to do a series on including this research. But he does it. I'm a production guy, so we'll get into this guy, Danny Dannon. LOL. We're gonna get to that though. We'll get into it authentically and organically. So who's part of it? Let's see. Where are the countries that are part of it? After signing the Atlantic Charter and the Declaration of the United Nations, the Conference of Allied Ministers of Education began meetings in London. It was necessary for expressed by Moscow, United Nations, UNICO, or UNCO. All this bullshit. Who's in it? I just want to know who the fuck is in it. it withdrew, citing the highly politicized nature of the organization. It withdrew again. So it owes $600 million. Okay. So I want to know. Anyways. Sound like shit ain't going as good as they hoped. Group of 77. Of course, 77. And if you don't know, I think G is what, the seventh letter, right? Yes, it is. So 777 777. Interesting. Looks like some shit on Top Gun, huh? Members. Eritrea, China, North Korea. We're just looking at who's in the United Nations. So let's figure out what. Oh, this is a coalition of 134 developing countries. So this is just the group of 77. Okay. I was like, where the fuck are all these people? Let's see. Into it, there are non-member observers of the United General, the Holy See. We're gonna get into all of this, man. And the state of Palestine. The fuck out my face, man. Just trying to find the members now. Member states. There we go. How was this so damn hard? Current members. So you got Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Argentina, Australia, Bahamas. I'm trying to see, man. If you see where you from, let me know. I'm pretty sure you will. And here's where I'm from, the United States of America. So the United States and the United Nations is what I was trying to get to. But let's go back. This is trying to make my point. I almost felt dumb for a minute. You got the UK and Northern Ireland, Great Britain, UAE. Let's see every place. Where we see? We got China. China's in the UN, okay. I see everywhere but damn Korea. So you see all the places that are in there, and you don't see Russia, of course. Oh, yes you do. Russia. Yes you do. Well, I knew Russia was in it. Actually, you see Korea is in it too. South Korea, at least. So you don't see North Korea. We gotta keep looking. That's why we make these ahead of time. So no North Korea. Hold on. Korea is in there. So everybody's in the UN. Except the Vatican, it looked like. The Vatican and Palestine. Right? That's what we read, right? That was the big deal. So let's go back. So all the damn countries are damn near in there. Right? The United States is the host of the headquarters of the UN. Right? The U.S. is the largest provider of financial contributions to the UN, providing 27.89% of the UN budget in 2020. In comparison, the next biggest contributors are China with 12 and Japan with 8. Budget used for peacekeeping operations was provided by the U.S. So the U.S. had a pivotal role in establishing the UN. Let's see the role. The UN is an outgrowth of the Atlantic Charter. What is that? A statement issued on August 14, 1941 that set out American and British goals for the war after the end of World War II. The joint statement later outlines the aim, so it was just a charter. And so when they were fighting World War II and the Axis powers and all of the, or the Axis power were fighting against the Germans and all that bullshit. Their main inspiration was the League of Nations. Right? Their goal was to rectify the League's imperfections and work in order to create an organization that would be the primary vehicle for maintaining peace and stability. Roosevelt's main role was to convince different allies, especially Winston Churchill of the UK and Stalin of the Soviet Union, to join the new organization. Negotiations mainly took place during the Dumbarton Oaks Conference and the Yalta Conference. So we're going to just start learning shit. Right? Why the fuck not? Why wouldn't we start learning shit? You know what I mean? Gonna get it right. Where there were three world leaders, where the three world leaders tried to reach a consensus concerning the U.S. structure, purposes, and principles. Or the UN, sorry. Roosevelt saw the United Nations as the crowning achievement of his political career, yada, 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 yada. 50 countries met in San Fran for the United Nations Conference of International Organization. They deliberated on proposals that had been drafted by reps of China, Soviet Union, the UK, and the US at that conference. The purpose was to discuss post-war settlements and to reach a final agreement concerning the UN structure and membership and set the date of the conference. The world leaders eventually agreed to give certain members a veto power. An important contribution was made at the Britain. This conference took place in 1944, and its goal was to create a new international monetary and trade regime that was stable and predictable. Over subsequent decades, this new system opened world markets and promoted a liberal economy. It was implemented through different institutions, such as the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, and that's where I was going, which went on to work with the United Nations but remained independent from it. So let's get that source. Yes, we want that book. Matter of fact, we gonna get that book. That's how we do, you know. You gotta go on and get these books, man, so that you can get the knowledge and show people how you get certain information. We gotta get the books, right? We gotta get the source so we can share knowledge. We don't want people saying, "Oh, you got this stuff in Wikipedia." Now let's get the book. United Nations officially came into existence in October 24th, 1945, when the charter was ratified by China, France, Soviet Union, UK, US, as well as the majority of other signatories. The United Nations was the first international governmental organization to receive significant support from the US. While it was supported most by Europe, it was never ratified. Oh, they're talking about the League of Nations. The large reservations. We'll get into all of that. So, sources of conflict. The United States has been the world's dominant military, economic, and social political power, not to mention hosting the UN headquarters. The United Nations was not designed for such a unipolar world with a single superpower, and conflicts and ascendance between an ascendant US and other UN members have increased. So people say, we don't agree with that. We need a citation. That's opinion, but it's fact. Conflicts between the US and the UN predate the collapse of the Soviet Union. The UN adopted Resolution 2759, which affected the mission of China and the People's Republic of China, and the removal of the Republic of China, Taiwan. I never knew nothing about this, despite objections by the US government. So when we were seeing the Republic of China, see, it even says relations between the US and the Soviet Union within the UN have evolved in step with larger geopolitical situation between the two powers, while the Soviet Union was boycotting the Security Council and China's seat was represented by US friendly Taiwan, right? Instead of China. Which will replace the ROC in the UN in 1971. So they got it right. So the US and the UN jointly condemned the invasion of South Korea by North Korea, leading to the UN-sanctioned Korean War. The war between North and South Korea, sanctioned by the UN, supported. North Korea was supported by China and Russia. Later, the U.S. persuaded all permanent members to force
to authorize force against Iraq after it invaded Kuwait. It was a major step towards the U.S. and Russian reconciliation after the Cold War ended. Going to this Korean War. North Korea invaded South Korea following clashes along the border and rebellions. North Korea was supported by China, while South Korea was supported by the UN, principally the U.S. So I wonder how that went when you're fighting against your own, within your own nation. Two different pieces in the same nation commissioning on different sides of the war. Hegelian in nature, if you ask me. Sources of conflict. Okay, we got into that. Zionism. The U.S. government repeated oppositions to Arab military actions. The General Assembly resolution determined that Zionism is a form of racism and discrimination. Is a movement in support of a homeland for the Jewish people centered around the area corresponding to the Holy Land of Israel. This gets back to, so that goes, right? So we get into history of the world and how we have this global organization, right? Funded by a global monetary fund, commissioning what is fair, right? Globally, right? When you get a term called world peace, right? So the UN, that's 1945. So we got a 1945 thing, right? And we got, so basically these people are walking around the world and fighting, and people fight usually over what? Religion. And religion is fought over what? Beliefs on life's meaning, rules, purposes, right? And that's how we get Zionism, right? And that conflict. So we got this UN governing world wars, wars and foreign affairs, right? So its repeated opposition to Arab military actions created much more tension between the U.S. and the UN. The General Assembly, which are the main policy makers, right, of the UN, they decided in 1975 that Zionism is a form of racism. This is a big part of history. This is a source of conflict, right, between the world governing body that's supposed to be responsible for world peace. So this is in 1975 when my dad was born. My dad wasn't even aware of what was going on yet. In 1991, okay, so the opposition of it was strongly opposed by U.S. officials, but there's no citation. The General Assembly adopted Resolution 4686, which would effectively negated 3379. Use of his veto power prevented the Security Council from issuing resolutions condemning Israeli military. So they told them people you can have that land, I guess. Right? Let me see. Yep, it was revoked. It has frequently divided the U.S. from Russia, China, and France since 1989. The government has dissented against Security 12, so they're going against these people. 12 occasions, only 2 related to issues other than Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So these are the major issues, right? Israel and Palestine. That is the United Nations. That's where we're getting these issues, right? Still to this day. And even under the Reagan administration, they withdrew from the educational thing because they wanted them to repeal 3379, which they did. And the U.S. was and continues to be the member state levied most heavily by the UN. So U.S. policymakers expected this strategy to be an effective way to oppose Soviet and Arab influence over the UN. When the UN repealed, it resumed due payments, but not before the U.S. had accumulated significant and contrary arrears. So they still owe the UN. Polls have repeatedly gauged public opinion about the U.S. regarding the USN. In the 50s, 60s, more supportive. The UN performance dropped to an all-time low, 2003 through 7, over the use of force in Iraq. Support for the U.S. has remained strong because the U.S. public differentiates between the criticism of the UN performance and support of the general purpose and aim. So most people say they agree. Let's get that. I want that source. They say they agree, according to Gregory Holk, they agree with the aims of the UN. The UN has always had problem with members refusing to pay. But its most significant is the U.S. So the U.S. is running this organization, basically, as the president of it, damn near. And they owe. After prolonged negotiations, the U.S. and the UN negotiated an agreement whereby the U.S. would pay a large part of the money it owes. In exchange, the UN would reduce the assessment rate ceiling from 25 to 22. So who the fuck is the Helms-Biden Act? There's no page on it. Which relinks payments of 926 million in U.S. arrears. So I wonder how they pay that off. Who is paying that? Taxpayers, right? Under the local economy, the national domestic economy, right? Gotta be, right? Of the U.S. totaling over 1.3 billion, 612 million was payable under Helms-Biden. The remaining 700 resulted in various legislative and policy withholdings. Under Helm, they paid 100 million in arrears. Release of on the final 244, on the 30 million was payable to the AM, 214 to the other international organizations. So this is how we keep world peace: is you have to pay millions and millions to the national international monetary. In Feb 2001, Congress authorized the second payment, but because of an 8-month delay in appropriation, the U.S. chose not to re-elect the United States to the UN Commission on Human Rights. Following the September 11th attacks, Bush signed the second law, and the U.S. was voted back into the commission. Debt to the United States. Oh my God. French, Jacques Chirac. Reforms of the United States nation. United States House passed the United Reforms Act of 2005 to slash funds to the UN by half if it doesn't meet certain criteria. This reflects years of complaints about anti-American and anti-Israeli bias in the UN, particularly the exclusion of Israel. So the Jews, quote unquote Jews, right? So this seems to be the hot topic of what's going on, protecting that Palestinian Israeli nation. So that is the major political issue, right? As far as wars, right? That area. Huh? What are they fighting over? So let's go to, it's getting deep, ain't it? A nationalist movement that espouses the establishment of and support of a homeland for the Jewish people centered in the land of Israel, the Levant. So let's see, the land of Israel is the traditional Jewish name. Related biblical regions, religious and historical English terms include the land of land of Canaan, promised land, Palestine. The definition of this territory vary between. So this stuff comes from the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, the Torah, right? And Hebrew texts across Europe, including the Catholic Church. And so this all goes back to what? The Christian Church, and right, which descends from what? The Jewish church, the Jewish religion, Judaism, quote unquote, right, as they call it. So now we're getting into the connection between religion and world affairs, because we've seen a lot of people fighting modernly, right? The UN, this global power, is having disputes over a claim by the people of modern day Israel that they are the ancient people of the world, and that they are God's chosen people and are given that land by God, and the world has been split in half. We just read it, man, and the US has contributed. So we're at the center of this war on the Holy Land. What says it's holy? The Tanakh. Right? Which is, of course, what, what I ascribe to as well as the whole scriptures as a whole, to be honest, what they call, quote unquote, the New and the Old Testament, the Holy Bible. So got the Torah, which I'm a follower of. Got the prophets and the writings, and then So the Tanakh is supposed to be an acronym, Tanakh, of Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, right? This is obviously modern quote unquote Hebrew, which is nothing like the Canaanite language, right? So we'll get into that. But these wars are fought over the Holy Land in the Tanakh, which is also the same inspiration of Christianity, right? So what is the historical importance, right? And that'll be something we'll get into, right? But the whole point of it is, right? My whole point is, when we dig down this rabbit hole, this Holy Land is a source of war today based on religious beliefs, aka theology, and the U.S. has been supporting it in the UN. Certain members in the UN have not supported it, but the U.S., the biggest financial and military contributor, donor to this movement, has fought always hand in hand with the state of quote unquote Israel to defend Zionism. And your boy Reagan even withdrew from the educational, you guys read it yourself, y'all are just reading it with me, educational aspect of it, to get away, you know, to pretty much revoke a bylaw that was put into basically the bylaws of the UN, that Zionism was discriminatory, which it is, but let's get into it. Zionism, establishment for the Jewish people. The Jewish people are who? Homeland Jewish people, based on the Bible, right? This is all based on the Bible and your interpretation of the Bible. So we know the Bible, the content of the Bible is highly responsible, and let's just say, dare I say responsible, let's say relevant to the state of global affairs. And the status of the UN. And we'll get into the rest another time, as I'm tired. That's all it is to it, and we'll pick up next time. Alright, end this bitch, man. End meeting.